We are starting to build a bit more of a concrete counter-argument. So we understood what it is. He has a problem with simplification and the way they simplify it. And then I believe with them coming up with wrong conclusions as well. He has two separate issues. But now we have a third one. He says it could misinterpret, people could misinterpret, it could teach people wrong history. And then they go home having learned incorrect information. Who uses Oversimplified to study history proper? There is a tier list, and I actually wrote it, so kind of to have a little visual representation of what I'm talking about. When it comes to the sort of media that can be, when it comes to the people and the types of media that can be used to misinform people and teach them wrong things, there are, I think, several tiers. For instance, number one, the most dangerous would be high academics and professors, which is why I focus a lot of my content to debunk them when they are using their titles and authority, which people normally look up to, and they're like, well, there, if a PhD says it, then of course that would be the most dangerous position and the one that we should consider the most dangerous and the one that we should attack and debunk because of their position of authority. Then I imagine local school teachers can be a problem too, although not up to the same extent, but we do trust them with our kids and we do trust them with teenagers. And so a lot of the things that children at school and students learn from their teachers, then when they need to get debunked, it's a little difficult. So that's something we should always look at. And I don't know if this should be number two or if this should be number two, you tell me, but definitely documentaries are another things that have a certain degree of authority, which is why I complained so much about the dangers and the problems and how problematic Netflix's Cleopatra was, because they put the label documentary on stuff that was absolutely incorrect historically. After that, we have historical movies. Why are historical movies less dangerous than a documentary? Because they have less authority behind it. Just the same way as a documentary usually has less authority than actual high academics in their environment, meaning academia. Although then again, documentaries would go up a notch if it's one of those documentaries that has a lot of talking heads of actual professors, and then they start speaking and telling you this is how it is, and I am an expert. That's not always the case. If you remember, documentary had the grandma saying that her grandma said that Cleopatra was black, so at that point I don't think people take that as a point of authority, but there are documentaries that do that. Anyways, historical movies, we know it's a movie, but then again, a little dangerous it can be, and that's why we sometimes debunk them. Then you've got video games, like for instance Ubisoft, that is using a video game, but it tells you with the talking heads again, oh, this is a great way to learn about Japan, and then they put a lot of ahistorical stuff. Clearly, video games are less dangerous than movies and documentaries and teachers and professors, because people don't give that level of authority to video games. They will say, oh, it's just a video game. Obviously, it's fiction. But then again, you know, if you play as a historical character or you play in ancient Rome, but the things that they show, you see white columns everywhere and white statues everywhere. There's not even a little bit of color. Or medieval England or medieval Italy is represented at a place with mud and everyone is dirty. Well, these things, even though it's a video game, they might connect to the mind of the people watching, and they could learn or think, well, yeah, medieval people were all dressed in black and everything was dirty. They might still think that that's true, but of course, once again, the danger is low because it has a low chance. Cartoons are the lowest rung. They are the lowest rung, and the only case in which I would consider cartoons to be dangerous, and then they go up to level 2, is if cartoons are used by teachers in a school to teach very young children wrong information, usually for politically motivated ideals. That's the only case, because then a cartoon has a strong effect on a child. But when it comes to like YouTube cartoons, like Oversimplified, I think the danger level is the lowest in the rung, because who's gonna take them seriously? It's a cartoon. It's entertainment. That's what it is. But it could have the benefit, which I think outweighs any mistake they may have made, that it could act as a gateway. This is how I argue that if you think Oversimplified is dangerous, man, what are you going to think about Tier 1?